Welcome to Conversations with Educators. Today I have a special guest, Jennifer Henriquez. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Jennifer is a school counselor and life coach. So it's great to have you on. I'm so excited to get to hear your thoughts and experiences on education and broader things as well. So
Yeah, likewise.
I like to start with a quick game. This game is called Start, Bench, or Cut. Have you ever played this game?
No.
No? All right. So it's like a team. So I give you three options. The thing that you will start is your favorite one. They're in a starting lineup. The thing that you bench is like your second favorite, and the thing that you would cut is your third favorite. Make sense?
Okay.
All right.
Got
So
it.
start, bench, or cut. Go back to your school experience. Would you start, bench, or cut your elementary school experience, your middle school experience, or your high school experience, and why?
Start is definitely elementary. Bench, middle school, and I totally would cut high school.
Why? What was it about high school that makes you want to cut it?
Looking back, I think it just wasn't the best fitting school for me and my needs. At the time you wanted to get into the best school, and my parents, that's just what they wanted. And looking back, it just wasn't something that fit me, and high school was just very confusing anyway. But yeah, I would have definitely cut high school, period.
Cool. Most people say middle school. They're like, middle school is the worst time in my life. I can see high school too, because high school is where a lot of students start to feel like the content is like something that they don't feel like they can apply to life. So a lot of them start to lose interest and check out then. And then you have so many other factors at that age that you're going through that can add on to it. So
yeah, and I think the high school just wasn't like well-rounded compared to other high schools. And when I say that, I mean like clubs, sports, other activities that just weren't academic. It was very math and science based, and that just wasn't for me.
Great point. So these are some reflective questions. So my first question is, why did you become an educator or school counselor? What got you into the field of education?
I always knew I wanted to work with children. I knew that was going to be my life's passion. I went through a couple of things. I thought I would have been a nurse, but then I failed chemistry, so that was already X'd out. And I used to work a lot of summer camps, and this one girl was crying one day, and I was able to get her back to where she needed to be, and that to me was like the light bulb. I thought I would have went the educator route, like the teacher route. Realized quickly I was not capable of getting 25 to 30 kids to listen to me. Not happening. And then they put me in small groups, and I realized like that's what I really wanted to do, and then that's how I pursued the counseling route.
I love that. So many people who I asked that question say the same thing. They all have like some kind of experience growing up, that they worked as a youth counselor or worked with kids. It could even be a younger sibling, and that they have that passion for it. They had that love or connection to kids, and that got them into the field. So I would say if we want more teachers or educators, especially educators of color, then maybe we need to start more like summer youth programs or jobs to expose them to working with kids, and that might put them on a path to becoming an educator.
Yeah, I have a student now who's doing summer youth, and she's in college. It's so funny how the world works. I think the DOE is a lot smaller than people think. We're a lot more connected. Long story short, she ends up knowing the counselor I did my internship with. That counselor left, and so she said, I'm so glad I met you, because now I'm going to do my internship with you. And I was like, yeah, of course, for sure. So
so true. My next reflective question is, so as an educator in that position, what was your biggest challenge that you faced?
First, getting the job.
Can you elaborate on that? Because that's a big deal. That's a really big deal, especially as a person of color, and especially a younger person of color. It's so hard, to get in. So how'd you get in?
So I graduated in 2015 with my master's, and I went straight into becoming a SAPIS, which is a substance abuse prevention intervention specialist. It's another counselor in the schools. They just provide a lot of prevention, drug prevention, life skills. It was really good. So I said, let me get in with that first and see what I can do. With that, I was able to meet a lot of other people from different districts. I was able to meet a lot of other principals. got myself out there. There was a freeze. There's always been a freeze. I feel
Always. It's like
like
every 4 years there's a freeze.
I think recently they lifted it to like
Mm,
anybody. Um, but what I did was I went on interviews. I didn't care if there was a freeze or not. I went. My mom would always ask, like, "Why are you wasting your time?" No, because for me it was a lot. It was practice. I got to learn how to sell myself and be confident, and so that way, whenever the freeze did open, someone would remember me and call me back. Um, and then finally, I got one. I went on an interview in September and actually got the job in December. And thankfully, my principal fought for me to be in there. I have my bilingual extension, and I think that helped a lot. Um,
big,
that was an
big.
extra thing for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So that's how that worked out. But it took like 3 years for me to get a position.
Yeah, I love that. Networking and practice, especially. I think putting yourself out there and gaining those skills, because even being able to sell yourself in an interview, that's a skill that you need to practice, you know? For me, like
Yeah.
when I started this show, just talking to educators and talking about educational topics, when I started to go out and apply to be an assistant principal, I did my interview through Zoom, and it was so naturally for me to talk through Zoom and have these conversations because I've been doing it so long through the show
Right.
that I ended up getting an assistant principal role. So it's like the practice you take, yeah,
Congrats. Yes.
it matters. Getting practice, networking, getting out there and meeting people can open up opportunities for you for sure.
It definitely does.
Yeah, and especially people of color because it's all about who you know. So the more, there's not a lot of us in the field of education. So the more we put ourselves out there, the more connections we can make. And through that person, they know someone who knows someone, and they can all come back and help you in the long term.
It's very true.
Yeah. So as we know, being an educator has its challenges like we just discussed. But we also have our proud moments, right? So what has been your proudest moment as an educator, as a school counselor? What is something when you look back on it, it always puts a smile on your face?
Recently, actually, when I first started counseling at my first school, there was this one student who we just connected, but she was an issue for other people. And it was just so nice. Like I got to see her from 6th to 8th grade just progress, and it was really nice to see. And I was in Park Slope, and I'm telling my fiance, I'm like, oh my God, look, she graduated. Like, this is great. Ended up texting her, and she actually graduated a year before she was supposed to. And now she's in college, and she's like, honestly, like on Mother's Day, she texted me like, happy Mother's Day. She's like, I know you're not a mom, but you definitely helped me and believe that I can do something. And to me, that'll always be my proudest moment.
Wow, that's it. I love that, right? That sometimes our students our kids that we work with will look at us as parents, right? Whether they don't have that parent figure in their life or they do, it's always good to be that other adult positive role model in their life. And then when you have that connection with them, those are the most fulfilling moments for you as an educator, but those are like the life-changing moments for students. They remember that forever, for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And that's the power of being an educator, for sure. So this is like an educational reform kind of question. So what do you think should be added or done more of in the educational system to help teaching and learning overall?
I had to think about this because I feel like there's not enough support for us. And when I say that within the schools, within admin, within this whole realm. I think there's a lot of support for children, as there should be. But then there's like no follow through. We go to PDs, we're supposed to give this, but there's no team to support that.
Okay.
And I think there's no team within the schools. Like there's really no like teacher support group, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What would you recommend? What should teachers actually get do?
I've been considering actually making my own. Like just getting teachers to sit, just how we do circles with kids, just sit in a circle with each other and just talk about life's challenges. And hopefully nothing with work, right? Like, but I think work is a big part of who we are and who educators are. And I think the pandemic was really hard for some teachers. They took it personal when kids didn't log on or weren't getting it. And I'm like, listen, like they're dealing with things too.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and teachers took it really personal because you want to make sure you're doing a good job. And I think being at home was another stressor, right? Because no one's watching you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're overcompensating now. Then you got to teach your own kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if there was something like that where I can almost assist and help teachers not take work so personal or not
Mm-hmm.
take whatever the kids are doing personal, I think that would help because they would just be okay with doing their job. They're doing a great job. Just because the kid isn't getting it, it just isn't your fault. There's other things happening. So I think a support group for teachers would be really good, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Like a life coach and support group. I feel like the pandemic now especially has showed that part of the reason why a lot of teachers burn out is because, a lot of their, personal life becomes a part of teaching. And when you don't feel like you're having that impact, or you feel overwhelmed with the workload, or you just don't feel that connection with your students or with the staff, then you can burn out, which often causes a lot of teachers and educators to leave the field. And especially with educators of color, you get into the field and you're trying to make an impact, and then you have life stressing you out, and you have so many things that you're trying to manage. And if you don't have systems and structures to manage that, or a support system to talk and get it off your chest to, then you end up burning out, or taking it out on the kids, or just shutting down. And more support for teachers is something that the pandemic showed needs to happen, whether it's mental health, mental you know support, for self-care activities, for groups, things that they can use outside of the classroom to make them better when they come
Yeah,
in front of those kids.
and even like you said before, especially with minorities, it's not enough that we're connected because we're minorities. Like that's
Mm,
not enough in a workforce. And I think that's also needs to be a little bit talked about, because just because we're the same doesn't mean like that's what connects us. Yeah, it's part of it, but you can also not treat someone nicely because of that.
yeah,
Um, I've experienced that, so
yeah.
that's why. You know, it's enough to be like, oh, let me hire you because I want to hire my own kind, and then when my
Mm,
own kind get in, the expectation's not there.
yeah.
Um, so I think if we realize we were a lot more connected and then disconnected, just like with the kids, I mean,
Hmm.
we want them to realize like you're not the only one going through this. And I think if teachers also realize that, I think it would make a lot of things easier. Admin needs to make, just that connection. I think that's just what we're missing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Last segment. This one's called "Choose Your Teachers Wisely." So this is a chance where you give a shout out to one teacher that you had. It can be from kindergarten all the way through college, that has had a positive impact on you or made you a better person. Who would you give that shout out to, and why?
Mm. I feel like it would be this teacher in middle school who was the gym teacher, Mr. Mafe. Um, he just made gym fun. He made sports fun. He made life fun. Um, he also helped me get a summer job. So he was just always that guy that was always helping any kid in any way he could.
I
So,
love that. What was his name again?
yeah, Mr. Mafe.
Mr. Mafe. Shout out to Mr. Mafe. Sure. Um, yeah, before we wrap up, is there any final things you want to say, or anything that you want to talk about or promote?
Actually, yeah, I was watching one of your other videos. It was
Mm-hmm.
talking about life purpose.
Mm,
And during the pandemic, I became a life coach. And so it's really hard trying to convince educators that they would benefit from it. And I found my life's purpose. Like, I feel like working with kids was part of it,
mm-hmm.
but it makes you feel a little empty sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And finding coaching was my life purpose because I realized like I needed to fix some things, and helping others become the best version of themselves is just my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I really want to get that out to educators,
Mm.
but educators are a hard crowd to to convince.
Yeah, but I think the
But I
pandemic showed that we need that support. So definitely. How can people reach you if they wanted to get life coaching or to ask questions about it?
Yeah, so my email is jgrace@coachingwithgrace.com.
Hmm.
I can send it to you. And
Yeah,
also on Instagram, it's coaching_with_grace.
perfect. Just send
Um,
me it, and I'll put it in the description to this video so people can watch the video and also click and contact you if they need to.
yeah, perfect.
Great, great. I want to thank you, Jennifer, for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your experience
Thank
and your
you.
thoughts. I appreciate your time for sure.
Thank you for this. I appreciate it. It was very
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Stay blessed and remember education over everything. Bye.